shy.
It'll come to us.
Okay, that's good. I like that. However the Spirit moves us. Love it.
Bless us all.
Yes.
Jill, I know there are people here from different parts of Ashtabula County, as well as there's sometimes people that are coming across the border from PA. There's also some people that might spend some of the time someplace where they don't have snow during winter time. And I hear kind of charities, and it seems like there's very much a local, we are connected to the community, but what can you say about getting people connected to other regional, like, kind of charities?
Very good. What? I saw another.
Mostly I'm looking to see how you refer to somebody and who you would refer. Like
Love
when
that.
people come in, when do we call Catholic charities?
So the referral aspect, how do we bridge people? Right. Anything else? Yes.
I just wanted, main reason I came was to support your presence here in South County and to learn a little more, I'm sure, but to thank you for what you do, not just in the county, particularly in the north where there's obviously a higher population, but for all the services you provide in South County. Apparently it's south of 90, even though that math doesn't math. But anyway, just thank you for that, and obviously we're here to support and thankful for everyone that's come today. So.
Thank you, Jason. I didn't pay him, but that was great. Okay, anything else? Yes, Bill.
There's so many things that Catholic Charity provides, or can provide. Maybe you can touch base on all the different services that are available to Catholics and non-Catholics.
Sure can. This is wonderful. It's almost like you wrote my script. Anybody else? Okay. Well, this is what we like to, these are the thoughts and the talking points I'm going to go over. Our mission, how we're connected with the diocese, the history, what's our funding, what's Catholic Charities at Ashtabula, who does Catholic Charities serve? Learning about our programs and services, how to obtain services for yourself or others, our collaborations, how to volunteer, and get to know us. Get to know us and to be connected. Feel connected. If anything, if you need to make a phone call to Catholic Charities, you know you have a friend in this room that you can talk to. Really important. So first I'm going to read you our mission statement. To provide service to people in need, to advocate for justice in social structures, and to call the entire church and other people of goodwill to do the same. Serve, advocate, convene. Do this every day. And it's not just our agency, it's our partner agencies that also build with us as well. So, when we're talking about the mission statement, it actually talks about us in this room. Okay, what we do every day, it takes a village. It's the church, it's us, it's the community, it's the people who work for our agency that make this mission strong. Catholic Charities, I get the question, are you part of the Diocese of Cleveland? And I'm like, no, we're not. We're not, but we're close, we're nearby, and yes, same church, just different way of grouping us. We're part of the Diocese of Youngstown, and I like showing this map because some people say it's a backwards L for love. God is love, But to kind of give you an idea of Ashtabula County, I'm the director for Ashtabula County, and then there's the regional agency that has 3 counties, which is Trumbull, Mahoning, and Columbiana, and then there is our Portage Star directors, where they have 2 counties. So we're a mighty, I want to say, an awesome team of directors, and with Rachel Herbelich, who is our diocese director, we do what we can to make sure, not just in Ashtabula County, but our whole diocese is being connected to Catholic Charities. And we are very urban in some places, and we're also rural in some places. So if it's definitely an area, a large area to cover, but that's what our goal is, to make sure that we are not just being present, but being connected, to being able to say, you know, we're here for you, no matter where you're living. And how can we make sure you're connected to services with where you live, or someone you know? Okay, pop quiz. How many years has Catholic Charities of Ashtabula County been serving Ashtabula County? Okay, we got good with that, yep. How many years?
80?
There you go, Donna, ding, ding, ding. Thank you. We've been serving Ashtabula County since 1944, so that's your little, like, you know, facts. You're talking to someone. And Catholic Charities actually started as an adoption and welfare, child welfare agency back in the day, and eventually was incorporated in 1961, and we were known as the Catholic Service League. And we still get mail, by the way, to our agency as Catholic Service League. But eventually, we merged with the Diocese of Youngstown and became part of a corporation. And that's where that map that you saw with the Catholic Church, that's how we formed, and our name just changed. Didn't mean that we weren't serving in the community. Didn't mean we weren't serving Catholic Charities, or Ashtabula County. But through those years, we emerged as looking at the needs of our community. And that's where, like, where we're standing today, and the services I'm going to share with you, how we evolved. So it's taken us 80 years to get to our point, but it was 80 years of us growing with the needs of the community. And the one thing I wanted to share with you, because there's always this stigma about Catholic Charities. Once you've seen one Catholic Charities, you've seen one Catholic Charities. Every Catholic Charities has something different. They're not all the same. They're designed to really meet the needs of the community and sometimes the call of the community. And I'm going to share with you some of those programs. So I do want to mention that we are a not-for-profit corporation, 501c3. We have a local government board of directors, and as you know, we are affiliated with the Diocese of Youngstown. Here's a list of our board of directors. In fact, we have a member in the crowd, and that's Donna Leeson, and she represents Our Lady of Victory. What we try to do with our board of directors is be representative of the county. We try to make sure there is a member from every parish if we can. Sometimes it's hard. So sometimes this might be an opportunity, like we're looking for someone in Orwell, where we have representation. And that's the whole point, is having a voice and being able to bring things to our board meetings and also our committee meetings that we have. They can help have full representation of our community needs. So, to kind of give you an idea, we have a famous cleaner. We do have the best staff, by the way, in Ashtabula County. You know, I have to say that to do the work of the church is it's hard work. We have staff that work so hard. They have tough days, not because they make it tough. It's because they see the work that needs to happen for those that are in need. And I'm very, very grateful to have the staff that we have. In fact, Peter Scardino's here today. He's from our guardianship program. And also Terry Arden from our office, who's my assistant, my administrative assistant, who is many more hats than you can possibly imagine. But everyone at our staff, when we're serving our clients, they're serving the church, they're serving what we do, and we're so blessed, so blessed. So it's not a one and done kind of job. So here's another lesson. What does Catholic mean in Latin or Greek? Who said universal? Thank you. Thank you. So this goes to around, well, I think it was Bill who asked this question. All are welcome. Anybody that has a welcome through the doors of Catholic Charities. You don't have to be Catholic to receive services at Catholic Charities. That's the same thing with also to be employed and also volunteer. So we always share that because we are universal in so many ways. We're here to help that person that's walking through the door and doesn't know what to expect, that doesn't have a voice, that's been probably told many times, you're not welcome here in other places. Because maybe they're not saying the greatest words to people. Maybe they're not communicating, or they don't smell a certain way, they don't look a certain way, they're not acting like something they should be. The whole point is that we're gonna make someone feel welcome at our agency, and it doesn't matter who you are. Because if there's something there that maybe we can do for you or for that person. And it's so important to know. So when there's someone that says, I don't know, just so you know, had some people say, I haven't been to church in a long time, can I still come for help? I'm saying, you can come to our doors anytime, has nothing to do, I've had some people say, could you lead me to a church? Absolutely, I can tell you where you can go, it doesn't matter what denomination you are. But the whole point is feeling welcome, and to be able to give us, the fact that they would honor us with the opportunity to help them is amazing in itself. So why do we do what we do? Because a lot of people are like, why does Catholic Charities, why is there one in every county? Why? Well, it first starts with the church. And we have to realize that. We're part of the church. Catholic Charities is known as the charity arm of the church. So the church has responsibility, proclaiming the word, celebrating the sacraments, and then exercising the ministry of charity. That's what we are. That's what Catholic Charities is. We're the charity arm. Let's put my arm up. We're the charity arm. Okay? So we're all about proclaiming life, strengthening families, and building the community. We are known as the attorneys for the poor. We go to bat. We go forward. We help our clients. We serve the most in need and the most vulnerable. Those that don't know how to exercise their voice yet. Maybe someday they will. But we're going to give them that opportunity to grow. Because it's their journey, not ours. We're going to give them the tools. We'll talk about that later. So here's the other reason. And it's not to be a Debbie Downer, because I'm going to tell you one thing about Ashtabula County. There's a lot of beauty, there's a lot of love, okay? Money does not define that. We have wonderful people in our community, but some people are struggling. And this is from a report that gets updated every year. It's called the ALICE report, and the acronym stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, and Employed. And what this slide is basically saying, and I'm going to kind of get into the details of it, is that 47% of our county, based off of the 2020 census, that are either poor or living in poverty or are working poor. Now, that doesn't measure someone's happiness, someone's love for God, someone's love for life, their abilities and their talents. Just saying financially, they're in this position, okay? This helps us understand a little bit about Ashtabula County. It doesn't define how amazing this county is, okay? But we have people who are working, and they're struggling, and sometimes they're finding themselves, you've heard the term, taken from Peter to pay Paul, okay? Or they have a hardship, or they have one thing that goes wrong, and it's hard to pick themselves up, so they have to make choices. Food, for example, the cost of food. If you have a fixed income, or you have a limited income, if someone loses some income, it can be a struggle for someone in our county. And that is across the board in our state, but I wanted to kind of emphasize where we look at things on an economics level. When we look at working poor, 30% in Ashtabula County, and the state average is 25%, so we're above the state average. Poverty, we're at 17%, and the state average is 14%. I actually looked at Andover, but So when I look at it, all together, we're all on the same page. It's almost 50% of our county is kind of struggling, okay? Or could be in that position where they're unable to meet their basic needs. And that's housing, transportation, food, electricity. You know, and these days, electronics. Phones are now the house phone, the cell phones. So things have changed. Statistics about Catholic Charities. Last year we served 3,300, almost 3,400 households in Ashtabula County, which is 9% of the population of households in Ashtabula County. I do have this tablet handed out for you up front if you're interested in taking this back with you. But when we're talking about individuals, that's everybody in the household, we're talking about 7,500 individuals we served last year. And that's throughout all of our programs. What's interesting about it is that it's not just in one area. It's in different areas. It's different areas of needs. So when I share with you the programs, you'll see what I'm talking about. But that's a lot of people when you think about a small county as like Ashtabula County. Now, I always question, who are we not serving? What are we missing out on? You know, it's hard to be everywhere, but it's also hard to, I always think someone says to, we hear people say this to us all the time, how do you go home at night, okay, after a day? And quite frankly, a lot of times, our staff, or even myself, would be the ones that I don't know that never knew to come to us. That's what makes it difficult, because the ones that we're serving, we're happy that they walk through our doors and we're actually providing them the service they need. It's those that don't know, or don't have they don't know that they can do, how they can get connected with us. Another question I get is funding. How do you guys do this? You know, so we have our own tax ID number, so that's us doing our own funding. So we have multiple grants, we have multiple contracts that we work on that's going to help Ashtabula County. Now, you can't have all your eggs in one basket. That's the thing. You have to be diverse. But the whole point is that what we do, that's where the funding comes from. So if I serve seniors, I might be involved, which we are, with the senior levy. And I think some people might know, who's ever heard of the senior levy? It helps so many over 60 in need in many different programs in Ashtabula County. We're part of that now. United Way. We work closely with the Ashtabula County Mental Health and Recovery Services Board, just to kind of name a few. But also, some of you might have heard of the annual appeal that is brought up in the Catholic churches. And that funding actually helps us go direct service with our clients quite a bit. And that's about 40% of our budget. So for those that have donated to that, thank you so much, because it really helps us reach out in different ways to those in need. Where some of our grants and contracts kind of put us in silos. They say, you can only do this with this income, and our appeal dollars help us really reach out in different ways. So it's not so income constrained, or, you know, if there's someone going through foreclosure, income could be so, we don't want the income to be prohibitive of any kind of service. So before I move on, any questions? Yes.
I give the appeal, the bishop's appeal. How much of my dollar stays in Ashtabula County when I donate to Bishop on it?
Well, for example, I would say how it's done is through the corporation. It goes right to the corporation of Catholic Charities, their board of directors, which is made up of members from our Catholic Charities Corporation, make that decision on appeal dollars and where they go. And our county gets, and I only say this because I'm very grateful, is that the donations that come to us are much more than the donations that come from Ashtabula County. So we actually do get, but whatever you contribute, it does come to Ashtabula County 100%. And I say that very gratefully, because that helps us do, I call it pass-through. It's not going in an administrative, it's going right to the person, the program in need that can't fill in it's like So, okay, that's a great question.
Can I add one
Yes.
more thing on top of that?
Yes,
So it's 60% of every dollar goes back to Catholic Charities, not necessarily Ashtabula County, but across the 6 counties. So it's
Yes.
60% of every dollar.
so, but our contributions are much higher than what comes in from Ashtabula County. So we're getting, nobody's dividing us by the percentage of what comes in from what county. So we're really getting, best way of saying is there's, the diocese or the corporation sees the need that's in Asheville County. Instead of saying, okay, well, this is only what we can give because of the amount that was contributed. So,
I have a question.
yes.
Does that have to do with in the, city areas, they have other, programs that help people? So they might not need the funds as much as this county where it's limited in Asheville. Catholic Charities is like the main one.
So, for the appeal,
Yeah, just for the.
it would just be our agency.
Yeah, because like, I know like I used to live in Columbus and there are a lot other agencies that you can go to for help, like what Catholic Charities provides, but there isn't really that in this county.
No, and, it's interesting you bring that point up. Asheville County doesn't have a lot of duplicate services, I'm saying in general. So, when I share with you our programs, you're gonna find that we provide a program of this nature that no one else does. Not because no one else wants to do it, but when you think about funding and you think about the need, the amount of people in need, it's just very individual, but it's very collective, and that's why the collaboration is really important. But as far as like Catholic Charities, they all should be under a corporation anywhere in this country, and that how they distribute their funding is based off of the programming that they have and their budget that they have. So hopefully, I mean, I'm sure they're doing what they need to do. But in our case, we have one agency, and I'm gonna show you that in a minute too. So these are our program areas. We have basic needs assistance, protective services, and education. So I'm gonna share all this with you right now. I'm gonna watch for time, so we have time for questions. Our basic needs assistance is a really big area. That's what we're best known for. Best known for. Housing counseling for someone that might be in foreclosure or at threat of foreclosure. Pre-purchase. Someone wants to buy a home, we might be able to help with some down payment assistance. We find that this was an area, actually back in 2009, we could have had lights at our agency for people who needed help with their mortgage and to help with loan modifications so they could stay in their home. Housing and homeless prevention. Right now, housing is at a premium. Finding a place to rent is difficult. It's a challenge. So when someone is facing eviction, we want to try to do whatever we can to keep them in their home, and after our assistance, we're able to stabilize them so they don't need our assistance anymore. We might be doing more financial literacy with them, we be reviewing their budget, checking in with them. The whole point is people have hardships and things that go on in their life where they're facing eviction. It's a very scary time, especially if you have children, and it's hard to find a house that has 3 bedrooms. It's just hard to find. So our hopes are to keep them in their home as long as it's a safe home too. Not all homes are safe and affordable, by the way, in Ashtabula County. So it's sometimes we're doing more about what's happening, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Utility assistance, prescription assistance, food, first step, which is baby needs. We have someone that actually fast tracks someone that's in need of Social Security because there is a hardship of medical hardship, and we are able to move that application and work in tandem with Social Security Administration. So we work closely with those, and a lot of times it's medical reasons. We work closely with those that are reentering back into the community from prison or jail, and also we do a lot with hygiene and household items, and we also have our annual Christmas program, which is called Halo. Another we have to look at the person. And when someone is homeless, we're looking at them and we're listening to them, and we're gonna see what is needed to help them in their situation, because they're all unique. Sometimes we're helping that person reunite with their family that's been looking for them. It's not just being housed, it's about what's happened. So those journeys that we see in this area are amazing. I always say we're very grateful for anybody that walks through the door during their really most difficult times in their life, and that they actually trust us right away. Because trust is so important. Trust that they know that we're going to help them with the tools. And that's the hardest part, is the trust. It's the trust. But it's not a bad thing. I would feel like, well, I'm not telling you all my business. I want to get to know what this is all about. And you're going to find that all of us in the community have to work together to build that trust for people. Next is our protective services program, and that consists of two areas: our guardianship program and our representative paidship program. Guardianship is the most restrictive type program that we have, and this is where we work closely with our Ashtabula County Probate Court, where we become guardian to someone that's considered indigent, unable to make good personal decisions, and or they're very vulnerable and they may not have the right people around them to help them with their medical and personal decisions. In fact, we have a guardian. I know we have a volunteer guardian here. But to kind of give you an idea, this program came into place because it was a call. It was a call in 1992 through the probate court, and our late executive director, Patrick Sorihan. He said, I'm finding people in the nursing home, they don't have a voice. And eventually he met up with our Judge Hay, the Honorable Judge Hay, who's deceased now, said, who's this Patrick Sorihan, becoming guardian for all these people in a nursing home? And then eventually said, I need to talk to you. And then what happened was an idea, and that was our guardianship program. This has been going on since the 90s. And it just took someone to say something's not right. And eventually the program has been going, we've been guardians to hundreds of people in Ashtabula County. And it's usually typically the 60 and older that we have living in the nursing home, some living in the community, but now we're also serving those that are under 60 in the community. So we have about close to 120, 25 guardianships at a time. And it's all about someone's life and trying to make sure that their life is being given the opportunity to thrive. Our paidship program, least restrictive, but restrictive, but this is what we are the fiduciary to someone who has Social Security benefit and they're unable to manage their funds. This area is really about those that have been exploited. We have had phone calls from adult protective services, from our mental health agencies in the area, churches, police, where there's somebody taking advantage of someone and their money. And sometimes we're finding them homeless because someone's taken advantage or they're unable to manage their funds. That's where we come into play. And it's really unfortunate sometimes that we can't stop it before it happens, but we get the calls and then we help those individuals. We actually pay their bills. We do bill pay. Basically, we make sure that all of their basic needs are being met, that there's a roof over their head. Because without paidship, they might find themselves homeless, or in very, not in a good way. We probably have about 225 clients in this throughout Ashtabula County too. So, next is our education area. We have a parenting class. It's actually children's services now, where we provide 10 weeks or 10 sessions of education for parents who have children between the ages of 0 and 5, and the goal is to be the parent to be their child's first leader in education. So this goes on. We have this about 4 times a year. It's a great program. And then we have our financial literacy program where we do one-on-one counseling, and then we also have group kind of workshops where we go around in different locations. So I just kind of went over briefly about our services, but I do want to tell you that there's places that you could go and check this out even more. Besides just some of the handouts we have here, you can go on our website, which is on ccdoy.org, and if you services. We'll say everything that we have in a little bit more detail. But if someone wanted to apply for assistance, they're like, how can we do this? Now, before COVID, you had to come to our agency. I don't know why it was, the technology was different then. Today, you can go online, and we have an application, you can click on here. Or you can call our agency, and we'll have someone call you. What we found is that it's very hard to have anybody come up to our agency and get turned away. We won't be able to have people, like they're like, well, I didn't know I should go here or go there. We encourage people to fill out an application, call our agency, have one of our caseworkers call, and then hear what's going on so we can make sure we connect you with what service you need. It may not be at our agency. And I'll give you an example in a little bit. Part of the challenge is transportation in Ashtabula County. So if I was coming from Andover and I drove up to Ashtabula to find out I had to actually go to community action, that's not good for that person. We want to take that barrier out and help them navigate over the phone or on computers, because we will email, so they're not driving up to be disappointed. I'm sorry, but driving is very expensive these days. It doesn't matter where you live. We want to be able to help make those connections. And the question was about collaboration, or how do we connect to other services. This is where it starts. This is where it starts. It might be, I have a utility issue, and then we'll hear more about their utility issue, and it may be that we might be able to do it over the phone with them, so they don't have to drive up or come into the office. We may have to have them come to our office, but initially, we're trying to create less barriers, create more cost for someone that really is struggling financially. The other thing is that there may be other agencies that we're gonna connect them to. And that's the key. It used to be someone would come in and say, you know what, my electric's gonna be shut off. And then we handle the situation, and guess what, they were fine. After their electric was taken, we helped them with that assistance, did some budget counseling, did certain things, maybe gave them some extra food, and after that, they were doing okay. But today, a utility assistance is what else is going on? There's more. It's a symptom of a greater situation. They may need to be connected in different ways. We might find they're in foreclosure. They just didn't want to talk about it. We're asking more questions. We're working with the whole picture instead of just one little picture. Because quite frankly, if we assist someone, we want to make sure that the other stuff is helped. Maybe we need to connect them to other services or other programs or other grants that we might have or other agencies might have. So it's not a one and done process with our clients or anybody that walks through the doors. It's a journey, and that journey is real. Sometimes there's someone they need Social Security. They should be on disability. We can help them. Well, they didn't know how to navigate the system. I'm going to tell you, going to Social Security and asking them for help is quite a challenge. In fact, it's almost like, well, I don't need a degree. Do people have to have a degree to go to Social Security? We don't know how it works, We have a person that can help navigate that. Because it is complex. It's very complex. It's not easy. In fact, sometimes I'm like, I don't know how I would do it. Because when it's you, then you have to figure out, am I doing the right thing? So when we're meeting with people, once we get the application, walk in, fill out an application, call, online, we're gonna connect with you. So this is a little bit about what I was talking about. How we work with our clients. I know this looks really like, doesn't this make you dizzy? This is what happens when we meet with our clients. They're telling us all sorts of stuff. They're like, what happened? What happened? Not what did you do wrong? We're like, what happened? And then they tell us their story. And then they learn caseworkers are combing through this, and they're listening, and they're hearing, and we're going, how can we help this person? They also, when they come to our agency, they're feeling very like anxious, and they have come sometimes with trauma. They're scared, they don't know if they can trust. They're hoping that we know what we're doing, you know? They're worried, they don't know, you know? But our hope is that we're gonna get together with them, and we're gonna talk about all of these things. We're gonna give them dignity and respect. We're gonna listen. We're gonna be not judging. We're gonna be helping them through their situation. We may have to advocate. We may have to make phone calls. We're gonna help develop their ability to have strength to do what they need to do. Self-determination. When you've had it rough, it's hard to pick yourself up. We wanna lift you up. Meeting people where they're at. Where are you? I'm hungry. Let's start with food. I'm tired. Let's get you rested. Maybe we can get together when you feel much more rested. I need shoes. Let's start with the shoes. Let's start with the shoes. And then we'll get to the next step. Because it's overwhelming when you have lost a lot. So we're getting to know the person. We're trying to figure out how we can provide help. But ultimately, we're trying to create hope. We're trying to create hope for anybody that walks through our doors. It's hard. That hope might not come right away. Again, there's a lot to peel. They always say the onion, you're peeling an onion, there's more, and there's more. Because it takes time. It's not overnight. So this is just my little map of people we collaborate with. It's not just collaboration, it's building bridges. So the funny thing we say is I have bat phones, you know, the bat phone from Batman and Robin. We don't have a red phone in our office, but we should, because everyone's calling us to say, I got a situation, or we call our person, we call the other person's bat phone. We're like, hey, I need to connect this person to your service. So it's so important that when someone walks through the door, when they share with us what's going on, we're also thinking about who else could be part of this care team for that person. And it's not just our agency. We can't do it all. We, like guardianship, we're the only ones that do guardianship. So we're gonna get phone calls on guardianship, but we're not the ones that do PIP, which is the reduced, I'll just say the income-based utility assistance is in Ashtabula County. We don't do it though. We know the people that do. And we might not have them walk over there. We might be saying, I'm calling up so-and-so from Community Action and see how soon we can get an appointment in for that person. The advocacy, the building the bridges, to making things less fragmented when it's a very hard system to navigate at times. You get lots of things going on in people's households, and if we can make a couple things easier while we're meeting with them, and we keep going, and we keep seeing exactly who else they need to be connected with, not just at our agency. We actually have a client, we've had many clients where they've been in almost every program at our agency and multiple agencies outside of our agency because it's everyone being collaborative. You know, we have to be good stewards of our funding, okay? That's one thing. And we also have to be good stewards of our services of our community. We need to make sure our clients have access to everything that's out there, that they have choice, and that they know that there's options out there. That's what we do. We're not gonna hold back on what's outside of our agency. So the collaboration, having knowledge of other services, especially when you have key programs that are gonna keep people housed, or keep their lights on, or their health. Keeping their ability to maintain their everyday needs on a regular basis is so important, and we can't do it alone as an agency. So on a lighter note, volunteer opportunities. We have many different opportunities, but it all depends on your talents, your time, and of course, your treasures. But our hopes are that if there's someone who's interested in volunteering at our office, picking up phones, helping with paperwork, understanding confidentiality, we'd love to talk to you. In fact, Carrie here is one person that loves talking to volunteers because there's sometimes we have many projects where we just need someone to come in and help us. They're not like, it's just one day where we just need help. We're like, well, maybe we can call certain people and they can come in and help us stuff bags for something that we need. Or we have something that came in, a donation that came in, we need help organizing something in our office. Our Halo program has many different opportunities to volunteer in, and that's during the Christmas time. And our board of directors, we're always looking for people in different parts of the county with different types of expertise as well. Our volunteer guardianship program is an opportunity for someone who would like to be a voice for someone in need, and sometimes special projects. And we have lots of events coming up, which is kind of exciting. We have our first annual bocce tournament that's coming up in less than 2 weeks. We're excited. So that's at Sunset Italy on August 31st. We've got a Dine to Donate that's coming up in October, October 16th at Halcyon down in Ashtabula Harbor. And we have our Halo Gala, which is our fundraiser for our Christmas program, which is on November 9th. And something to think about, and I know there'll be more information coming out, is on May 1st of 2025, our annual Voice of Hope dinner, which is everybody from our diocese, Catholic Charities, celebrating what we do. So, a lot going on all of a sudden, because we came out of COVID, and it was hard to kind of get together with everybody. Now we're starting to stream out there and make ourselves a little bit more visible. So, that's the exciting part of all of this. So, any questions? Yes?
You have some statistics of the population.
Yes.
How many families in your whole area have children of grade school age?
That's a good question. I wish I could probably get you that information. Children, I would have to look at the census in each area, but a household is considered one,
Correct.
okay? So
I
it's,
don't need to know how many kids.
yeah,
I need to know how many households.
households with kids.
Yes, kids.
I can get that for you.
Households with kids under grade school.
Yes,
Grade school
17.
age.
I can do that. Yeah,
I'll give you my card.
please. Any other questions? Yes.
I was looking here at the basic needs assistance on this paper. If someone would come to the church and need something food-wise, like that our food pantry didn't have, does it take a while to get into you guys for assistance, or they can just call that same day?
I think they should call that same day, although there are people we're serving. But if they say what their need is, it's gonna help us, okay? Because we do have food on our shelves. We're just not a food shelf, a food pantry,
Oh.
because there's so many throughout the whole county. So the question we would probably ask that person is, who is your food pantry? Okay, have you been there? And sometimes we might even call it food pantry, depending on what connection is, but we do food vouchers.
Oh.
So, we wanna make sure that that person is connected in their area. That's happened, but if a food pantry is running low on something and there's special needs, we help. Like, we've met with some people that have certain food sensitivities, and we've done some special assistance in that area. But we could be a phone call away from Barb Klingensmith at Country Neighbor, and ask, can we help so that person's not driving too far too. That's happened before. We try to be creative. So that's a great question.
Thank you.
My question, I'm in Jefferson, and so we
person multiple times in a year, but sometimes we do provide help, but it's not the help that they may want. So and I'm glad you're bringing this up, because I don't want you to think that we're perfect. But there's some people who call up for shelter and they want us to put them in a motel over the phone. And that's not what we do. We need to know more about what's going on, and we also aren't trying to put people in motels or shelters. We're trying to see if they have alternatives, because funding is limited. It is limited. Sometimes they call, but they haven't even talked to somebody yet. So we will always like to know if there's someone that you feel that needs to be connected with again. That's where we would want another phone call, because sometimes it doesn't happen, and they say, or they're in a really awkward situation, and we want to know more about it. So,
Because we're in Jefferson, like, we do have the food pantry there, so that's easy to direct them to. And then Father John has a gas voucher program, so sometimes we offer that help if we can. But sometimes the calls, like, it's hard to know where to direct them, so I direct them back to
211. 211 is really important because we work closely with 211. The thing is that with housing, or when there's some real critical situations, they're given options, and some of those options aren't available right away. Where it could be they need to go to a shelter, or they might not want to leave, they don't want to stay where they're at. It's more complex of the situation. So it's always individual, and we would want to know more about it. So, I mean, if you run into a situation, maybe that's where you call me and I can connect you with one of our supervisors. Especially when it's a real, let us talk to that person, because maybe we never did talk to them.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to say.
Well, it's hard for us too sometimes, because you can't tell if they're just fishing to see what.
Okay. Well, we always say what's on sale at Catholic Charities, what's on sale at community action. We say it in a fun way, but it's the truth that everyone's trying to find their hope as quickly as possible. And sometimes it takes time, and it's not overnight. Sometimes when someone is homeless, I'll call up Steve Sargent from Samaritan House. Actually, I'll text him and I'll say, any room at the end for a meal? And he said, yep. And I'll say, hey, you can go to the shelter tonight. And they said, no, I want a motel. I'm like, I can't. We work very closely with the shelter. Okay, shelter is not long term. It's supposed to be short term. That's going to connect you to the next step, so you can work towards self-sufficiency. It's about being productive in the community. It's about being on your own and independent. We're not looking to keep people in a system of care that controls them based off of fundings and grants. We want them to be independent. It's not easy. It's not easy. We are very, very dependent, very fortunate. We have 2 mental health agencies in our community, actually 3, but 2 that are very strong. It's community counseling and also Signature Health. They both try to make sure that people that they're working with are still staying within their plan. So when we're talking about why someone is in their situation, we want to know more, because it could be they just got assistance and then what happened? Because the whole point is to that's the perfect scenario, is making sure somebody has the opportunity to be self-sufficient afterwards. And we know that that's not always easy, especially when the rising cost of food and gas, and you're trying to balance something, and then just saying, if you have children, baseball season's here, you're trying to give a normal life to everybody in your household, and you're taking computer to pay Paul. You're trying to give your children an opportunity to enjoy good things in life and experiences, and it's very hard. So, I love that question, thank you. Yes?
If someone would come and ask for help, and it would be after hours, if they call your number, does it provide an emergency number, or should we just tell them to call 211?
Thank you, I appreciate you bringing that up. I kind of passed through a slide. Our hours from 8 to 4, which is on our literature. We don't have an after-hours emergency line. Only because I don't have people who work 24/7 technically we are trying to provide the assistance, and see exactly what's going on, but I don't have any emergency type, like, we're gonna, now, have we had some special calls? Yes, but generally, it is during office hours. So I would still encourage that person to use the email, or there's an email that you can send, or to send the application in, and we get that, we see it in the morning. So, that's a great question. Anything?
Yeah, I kind of have some, but my question is kind of detailed and kind of personal. Will you be available to talk to maybe when you're finished?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
What is your, I don't know, I can ask this two different ways. What's your success rate, or what is the amount of times you see people or families repeatedly? They never go away, they're always.
You'll always have someone in need, there's no doubt. I will tell you, on a funny note, and this is years ago, one of our caseworkers said, I know that this person's putting this date on their calendar a year from now, because they know they can get assistance 12 months from now. Like, there's some people that have a very tight budget, and they're thinking, I can get this help at this time, because I can only get assisted once. We've been down that road, there are regulars, but then when we're talking about success rate, we've met with people who were successful and then they've had hardship again. So we don't measure it, it's very hard. We want to be able to be available for the real difficult times in people's lives, especially when health comes into play. You know, we might have helped that person get, maintain their home, and then 5 years later, we're seeing them again, and maybe we're being their payee. Sometimes we're meeting people that are in the streets, and they are doing great, and guess what? They got reunited with their children, and they need to find a house so they can be with their children. So it's multiple times we've seen this person. We saw them during a really tough time. Years later, they're going to a parenting class, or they're with one of their case managers, and they're trying to reunite with their children and to then find a place so they can have their children move in with them. So it's the success rate is the hard to measure because there's so many things going on in our clients' lives. The success is that they remember to come back to us. That's probably what we should measure more when I think about it, because I think about a payee, someone that became their own payee. This is back in like 2008 or 9, and just recently we became her payee and guardian. Just recently, because she had some mental health and homelessness issues, and we were involved with the hospital on it. And we haven't seen this person in probably 12 years, and now we're connected back with her. And that's the hardest part to measure. I think the hardest part is when someone doesn't know that they can't come back. If they feel that they can't come back, it's like, oh, come back. Because we want to be able to reconnect you with the services that you had before. It could be payship, or it could be that we just need to help you with your situation. Now, our clients, we have found that we're working with someone for about 1 month. It's 3 to 6 months, sometimes a year. And it's not always financial assistance. It could be like checking in, doing financial literacy, looking at their budget, helping them connect to certain services. It just takes time. And everybody has a different situation. That's what makes it unique. So they're not all the same scenarios, but we could be working with someone as long as a year. Thank you for that question. Yes?
Do you have a lot of situations where people come in that are struggling but don't need the financial, like they make too much money to get
No.
their assistance?
So sometimes I get the question, why is that person driving a really nice car but they need help with their housing? Well, they just lost their job or something really bad happened and they had it all. I've seen it where people had it all. and then one thing went wrong and they have this house and they can't afford it, or they're trying to keep the utilities on for their family. And it's a really, the stigma right there is an issue. They're like, I don't want people to know that I'm asking for help. I've never had to ask for help. I've worked all my life. My husband worked all my life. I don't know what to do, and I'm in this really weird predicament. That's a tough situation. So when we're talking about, like, for example, foreclosure or someone who is at risk, we're trying to make sure they're connected with us so we can see what kind of supports they need wrapped around. We're not sure what direction we're gonna go for them, because it might not just be food and utilities. It could be us doing a loan modification where we're talking to the servicers, loan servicers, and seeing what we can do to reduce their monthly mortgage based off their hardship. So it is amazing how someone could be here and then suddenly this happened. And they paid a lot of medical bills, or they've been taking from their 401k, and now they're here. And they've tried, and it's not like it happened overnight. So, on our application, we have nothing that says you don't qualify if you make this much money, for that reason. And I will tell you, we've worked with guardians or grandparents who become children, the legal guardian to sometimes 3 or 4 kids all of a sudden, and they need financial assistance, or they need to suddenly build something that they weren't prepared to do because it happened overnight. We're helping them through that, and we're also like kind of collaborating with other agencies like Children's Services or Department of Job and Family Services to make sure they're connected with all of the resources to help with their household budget. So a lot of the discussion is the budget. What happened here? You were here. Now we got to see what can help supplement. Our issue is sometimes people are above the guidelines for some of the services that are out there in our community, like food assistance. We might find ourselves helping supplement that because they're over income for some of those programs. We don't carry those programs. I'm not in charge of those programs, but it's hard to change the federal government and their guidelines. Sometimes I think they need to be a little bit looser, and they need to be able to reward more for people who are trying to get out of their situation. But I'm not here to be, we need to help people who are trying to help themselves. And sometimes the federal guidelines on some of these programs that are out there can really make it hard for someone to get out of their situation. So I hope I answered your question.
Absolutely. Also, if you're at a church, who do you talk to if your church is talking about doing something on a larger scale to connect to Catholic Charities? Who's in charge? Like, who would we go to, you or someone else about, like,
Me or Carrie?
like you used to have the clothing
Yes.
and you don't do that anymore?
No.
Like, if you were gonna do something like that, or a food pantry, or whatever it is at your church, like a long-term kind of a thing, not an event, is that?
Yeah, we would sit down, we would schedule a meeting and talk. Because technically, how we look at things is what's the current need of the community. It used to be, we used to give food boxes, and now that there's so many food pantries, we're actually giving ready-to-go food. Because we have many people walking into our agency that are unhoused, not ready to be housed, living in the Gulf, living at a truck stop. They're just looking for something to keep them going. So we've been providing that kind of assistance lately. And that's such a change, because it used to be families coming for food boxes, not anymore. So I'll tell you how.
That's her biggest complaint is she can't, I hear it every day, Gwen tells me, I can't buy a rotisserie chicken, but I can go buy a TV dinner, but what if I don't have electricity to cook it?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense, with food stamps,
Yeah.
you can't.
Well, if I was to work for the federal government, I think they would fire me. Because I would say, this does not make sense, but I understand, and again, this is not about the federal government, but Catholic Charities is about helping those that are falling through the cracks, that maybe they're not thinking about, maybe they need food that's gonna help them sustain them better. we fill in those gaps. That's why sometimes people donate hams to us during Thanksgiving, but we're really not handing them out. We're actually trying to make sure they're in the hands of people who are gonna need that food. You know, we used to do a Thanksgiving program, and it just kind of got a little bit, we stopped it because it was the people who didn't need it. We saw that we need to make sure the food pantries are making sure that the food is given out. 'Cause that's their job. They do a great job. We fill in. They're the ones that call us up and say, we have someone that has an allergy, or they have to have insured. You know, we're purchasing that. You know, so like we try to fill in those gaps best as possible. I will tell you, Barbara Klingensmith from Country Neighbor, she calls us a lot. She advocates a lot for people that she's doing, hold on, and she's either calling me or Alice Hardin for real interesting situations, but they're not. They're just, we need to that's how we collaborate. We got the back phones going on. So that's what's important. When we say that, how are we present also in this county? We're present in our connections, which is really important. So our services that are down in this area, we're very much connected with them. So if there was an issue, I know that they would be calling us, because that's how we all kind of work together. It's important. Now, have we tried having like a satellite office down in this corridor? We used to be at St. Mary at Warwell, but we just weren't there when people needed us. So being there twice a month at a certain time frame is not really what it was. It was about making ourselves available right away versus being present. So we're still trying to figure that out. We tried to be there when Wick was around, that kind of stuff. So
This is wonderful. I had no idea you guys did all of these things, and between this and the Salvation Army and so forth, it's good to know we have all these resources that people
Yeah.
can get help.
Ashtabula County, and I say this all the time, is the best county in all 88 counties in Ohio. The reason why I say that is that we're the most collaborative. Every time I go to a meeting outside of the county, they're like, you guys do all this stuff together. It's because we work together. And we try to make sure resources are not duplicated. We try to make sure that we're utilizing each other to help people in need. And I think that's probably the most important thing. It is a formula of helping people. It's different for every person, but there's a way of working with people individually. So, part of it is us as an agency utilizing our services, making that known, and at the same time being connected with others in the community that provide services and making sure that our clients are being connected with those services. So,
I'm gonna ask that, the things that were just handed out.
okay, I'm gonna get to that.
Thank
One second,
you.
thanks. So, any more questions?
Jill will stick around too, so don't feel like,
So-
okay, it's over.
I'd like to thank you all for coming, and I just wanted to put some special things out there. First to Father John and Our Lady of Victory for letting us hosting this event for us and being able to provide this opportunity. Love to do it again, where you can bring your friends or others that might not know about us. Love to do this again. I also like to thank Jennifer Lucarelli and Brianna Kissam from the diocese to help us with the food and it's really made today, like really awesome. The other thing I'd like to say is, today with Carrie Artman and Peter helping us set up this beautiful room. I love this room, by the way. Thank you for the tables and the chairs. Really appreciate that. And also to Donna Leeson for making this connection really start